Have you heard of this book series, Rise of the Dragons, published by Scholastic? Chances are you probably haven't. With only 2 books in a series ending on a cliffhanger and no new since, it seems like the dragons aren't coming back. Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is pretty different from my regular content. Today I'm going to go over the mystery of a forgotten, most likely cancelled dragon book series called Rise of the Dragons, all while designing what I think the characters would look like. Rise of the Dragons is a 2-book series published by Scholastic, with the first book being published in February 2019 and the second book in March 2020. Book 1 is just called Rise of the Dragons, while Book 2 is titled The Lost Lands. Each was written by a different author, Angie Sage for Book 1 and Jessica Khoury for Book 2. The books have alternating chapters from different people and dragon points of view, but the main human protagonists are Joss, Allie, and Siren. The main dragon characters are Lysander and Bellatrix. Almost every human character has a dragon called a lock, with a capital L, which is basically a lifelong companion who you can speak to in your thoughts. The majority of the story takes place in an alternate world similar to Earth, but with dragons. The basic premise of the series is that dragons used to be on Earth, but a group of bloodthirsty dragons and humans called the Raptors caused dragons to be banished to another world and can only return with the silver dragon, which can open portals. The Raptors, led by the human family called the Lennox clan, ravaged their world, stealing dragon eggs to make them violent from hatching and killing any people or dragons who get in their way. While Joss and Allie are forced to work as shepherds and servants and live in fear of the Raptors, Siren lives on Earth in London with her sick mother, who tells her stories of dragons and how they used to exist on Earth. The characters I'm designing first are Joss and Allie Moran, siblings who were forced to work for the Zolls, an old couple who own a compound/boarding house place after their parents were killed and their village was destroyed by raptors. Joss works as a shepherd all by himself in a hut far from the compound, while Allie works inside, washing dishes and clothes, preparing food, and feeding the animals. Joss is a positive, friendly, and trusting teenager who tries to make the best of his unpleasant situation. He loves dragons who aren't raptors and was overjoyed when he met Lysander, his lock. Joss is quite skinny, has dark curly hair, and wore boots and threadbare rags. I like to imagine he had freckles, tan skin from being outside with sheep all day, and that he had a shepherd's staff. Allie is also skinny, but has long, wispy dark hair. She wore an apron and probably wore dresses too. I would think that she would wear something to tie up her hair while washing dishes and cooking, so I added that to her design as well. Allie is practical, hardworking, and fiercer than Joss. She isn't as trusting as he is though. She seems exceptionally good at telling when others are lying. Allie and Joss lived pretty bad lives, forced to work all day and given little food. Of course, until a silver dragon egg rolls down a hill right up to Joss's hut. The dragon inside hatches and locks with Joss, telling him that his name is Lysander via telepathic communication. By the way, this silver egg, which was mistaken as a rock by a raptor and dropped down a hill, was stolen on a raptor raid and was meant to go to Fortress Lennox, where all the raptors live. Lysander grows up quickly, and soon a mysterious traveler shows up in the middle of the night at the Zoll compound where Allie is working. Before we get into that, let's backtrack to the silver. Lysander has just recently hatched, but grows so fast he is too big for Joss's hut and breaks the whole thing. This seems to be a special trait that only silvers have, described as quicksilver, along with being fire resistant and being able to open portals to another world. Lysander is described to have very shiny silver scales, emerald eyes, 2 wings, and 4 legs. Joss and Allie were planning to fly away from their awful lives once Lysander is big enough, which after Joss goes on his first flight with Lysander won't be long. On that flight, Joss and Lysander encounter Edward Lennox on his red dragon Decimus, although Joss doesn't know who he is. Lysander opens a portal to Earth to get away from him, which the people of this world call the Lost Lands. Edward relays what he's seen to his wife Demera Lennox, and she devises a plan to bring the silver to Fortress Lennox. Pretend to be a weary traveler, see the silver for herself, and buy Joss's indentures, basically kidnapping him and his dragon. All goes according to plan, with Joss trusting Demera's fake identity and happily going with her, although he does convince her to bring Allie as well. They travel for hours, when finally they're close enough to the fortress that Demera reveals herself and has guards capture them. Afterwards, Joss and Allie, among many other kidnapped people, are forced to work disgusting, dangerous, and difficult labor for the Lennoxes. Demera Lennox is the head of the Lennox clan, with the most authority over the Raptors. She is vicious, scheming, cocky, and impatient. She is not scared of murder and will do anything to get what she wants. But she does care a lot for her lock Crane, an old and sickly blue dragon. She has a head full of twisted dark braids, hooded dark piercing eyes, pointy teeth like a piranha, and almost always wearing black or other dark color. Her husband Edward Lennox is slightly less horrible than her, but also has no trouble with murder. He enjoys raiding dragonettes to steal eggs, and is always competing with Demera on everything, although they do agree the majority of the time. He is a stocky man with a mustache, shorter than Demera, and wears mostly leather. His lock is a powerful red dragon named Decimus he knows and trusts more than his wife. Edward isn't all that scheming and is a bit short-sighted, but is also violent and cruel. Both he and Demera wishes there were more humans left in the world because raptors like to eat them. Guess what? Allie also has a dragon lock, a ginormous green dragon named Bellicrux. Allie was taken from her job to be fed to Bellicrux by the Lennox twins, Tamara and Mira. Bellicrux is the Lennox Grand, the most respected senior raptor, and is possibly hundreds of years old. She has huge battered wings, scuffed scarred green scales, and bright green eyes. Instead of eating Allie, Bellicrux locked with her. Allie had an ancestor, her great aunt, who locked with Bellicrux long ago, and Allie had been told Bellicrux had killed her. But of course, her lock was actually killed by the Lennoxes for daring to lock with their grand. Allie stays with Bellicrux in her chamber for a few days with a stolen green dragon egg while Joss was adopted by the Lennoxes, a scheme by Demera to get Lysander on their side. Joss thinks Allie is dead after the twins said she was dragon food, but he goes to Bellicrux's chamber and finds out the truth. Joss continues pretending to be like a Lennox, and Bellicrux explains to Allie about how she must act cruel in front of the raptors till she thinks they're like them. A bunch of shenanigans ensue, and Joss, Lysander, Allie, Bellicrux, the green hatchling, and a green they rescued from prison named Helena escape Fortress Lennox, with Helena leading the way to the green dragon's secret hideout. Of course, they're spotted escaping and are followed by the Lennoxes, resulting in a battle in the sky where Helena and one of the Lennox children, Declan's Locke, are killed due to a Lennox weapon, the Fire Stick, which had ruined Demera's design. Allie, Joss, Lysander, and the green hatchling go through a portal to Earth after the battle to escape and rescue a girl named Siren from being stolen from and harassed in an alleyway in London. Oh yeah, remember that girl I mentioned at the beginning named Siren? Well, she only has a few chapters in book 1 and isn't really a main character, just sort of a cool side story. She lives in a small apartment in London with her mom and a cat named Sammy. Her mom owns a gem, which she calls a dragonstone, which she passes down to Siren, who wears as a necklace. Her mom tells her stories of how dragons used to be on Earth, about locks and raptors, and how they were banished because silver dragons can open portals. Siren is 11 years old and has dark green eyes and short brown curls, and wears mostly sweatshirts and sweaters. She is compliant and kind, but also gloomy and a bit resentful. Siren's story is quite short, but very sad. Her mom is very sick and has to be in the hospital all the time shortly after the beginning of the book. Siren lives with a friend for a few weeks before being forced to go to a foster home which Sammy cannot live due to the family's allergies. A little while later, Sammy is put down because she is too aggressive to be found a new home, and then Siren's mom passes away in the hospital. Siren and her foster mom have to walk home from the hospital that night, where they encounter a gang who try to steal Siren's dragonstone and money. But luckily, Lysander shows up and spears her way into the sky. She locks with the green hatchling, who tells her name is Sammy, the same name of her cat. And that's the end of book 1. The Rise of the Dragons books have a lot of detail in them, so this video would probably be really long if I included both. The basic premise of book 2 is the raptors and the main good guys, Allie, Joss, and Siren, are trying to find this ancient relic called the Sky Spinner's Heart, which lets you control other people and dragons' minds. And guess what? Book 2 ends on a cliffhanger. Since then, there's been no new story at all, and it seems like Scholastic probably cancelled it. There's like a video trailer thing on their YouTube that hasn't had a new comment in 4 years, and the books are still available and visible on their website, but absolutely nothing has been said about them since. The website advertised on the back of the books just redirects you to the books on Scholastic website, so I think it was deleted. I found the game, I think by the company who made it maybe, on their website. I'll put the link to that video and to the game in the description if you want to see it or play it. It's a basic card game that is basically just based on luck, but the art is pretty cool and the cards look just like the actual cards that came in book 1. So, what are your thoughts on Rise of the Dragons? Do you want to read it? Have you ever heard of it? What are your theories on what happened to it? Do you want a part 2 of this video? I'd love to know. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye!